Apple under attack on several fronts, regulatory, legal, and antitrust. And Steve Kovac joins us more. It's an important stock, Steve.
Yeah, and we're only 3 weeks into the year, and these just regulatory and legal pile-ons just keep happening for Apple. And they're putting some restrictions on Apple's ecosystem, but more telling than that is how Apple responds to all these regulations and legal cases and tries to water them down. Let me give you a couple examples that have been happening.
Good morning. Hello. Before he gets into his examples, thank you for joining us on the Coder Stream. We're setting up. We're going to be talking about this story and more. If you're just joining us on the commercial streams, I invite you to come into our Matrix, coder.show/matrix. You can also catch us over at Jupiter Station on a Podcasting 2.0 app. And here we go. Apple facing a lot of regulatory scrutiny. This will be relevant to today's Coder.
All these regulations and legal cases and tries to water them down. Let me give you a couple examples that have been happening over the last several days. You had the Supreme Court, which declined to hear the Epic Games lawsuit. Now, Apple won that case mostly, except for one count, and it's now legally required to let apps offer discounts by sending users to a separate website in order to make their payments. Now, that would normally get a 30% fee to Apple, but Apple found a way around it, and it's still going to charge 27%, just a 3% discount. And some other things going on recently. A concession from Apple, actually. Apple offered in the EU to let third parties have access to its wallet app. That means PayPal and other payment services can get in there as well. And another concession just last week, they're going to sell the Apple Watch here in the United States without that blood oxygen sensor in order to comply with the import ban over that patent dispute we've been talking about for the last several weeks. But we're still waiting to see how Apple responds to the EU's Digital Markets Act, which is going to go into effect later this year and goes directly after Apple's lucrative App Store and other core services. So that's going to be the big one to see if they can skirt around it the same way they've been kind of able to skirt around these other smaller cases that have been hitting them in recent days. It's a lot piling on here.
All get folded into one giant DOJ case? DO gangsta? Perhaps. Got a live boost into the stream from Rotted Mood. Coming in with 25,000 sats saying value for value. Thank you, sir. Thank you for listening on Jupiter Station. We'll roll that into the show. And one more story. This one on the Microsoft hack that'll be mentioned in the show today. Let's talk about this. Definitely doesn't look good for the boys in Redmond, does it?
Tech giant Microsoft saying it was hacked by a Russian state-backed cyber group. In a blog post, the company saying that intruders broke into corporate email systems and gained access to accounts belonging to members of its leadership team, as well as cybersecurity and legal team employees. Microsoft saying the hacking group is the same one that was behind that huge 2020 SolarWinds hack. Here to weigh in on all of this is SentinelOne Chief Trust Officer Alex Damos. He's formerly led the cybersecurity efforts at both Facebook and Yahoo. Good morning to you. When you hear news like this, you start to think that, Satya Nadella's email may very well have been hacked. You can go through the whole list if you think that when they talk about leadership. What does this say to you, and how dangerous is it really?
This is pretty dangerous. So this is the second kind of major announcement of an email hack by a state-sponsored intelligence agency. Last one was September. In that case, it was the Chinese broke in to Microsoft. Now, that was a much bigger hack in that we know for sure that the Chinese government got access to thousands of accounts, including the Secretary of Commerce, including members of the State Department. In this case, it does look like it's more contained. What's a little frightening here is that of the three major intelligence agencies of the Russian government, this is the SVR, and they are the hardest to deal with. They're the most subtle. Some of the other ones like GRU, for example, are somewhat famous for smash and grab operations, for causing lots of damage, for not caring if you know it's them. In this case, the SVR is famous for, like you said, the SolarWinds hack, which is something that they took years to plan and to pull together. And it looks like this could have been the start of a pretty significant campaign, because one of the things they were looking at were the emails of the security team and security leaders, so they could see what Microsoft knew about their activities.
So, Alex, does this suggest to you that Microsoft is somehow more vulnerable than others? I mean, we have not heard about such attacks, for example, at Apple. I just raised that as a question, or necessarily at Google. Is it because these hacks are happening at those companies and they're not disclosing them? Are they less interesting to the hackers? Is the security better or worse at these companies? I mean, how do you sort of baseline what's really happening?
Yeah, so Microsoft has a very good security team, but they're also incredibly highly targeted. Really, the people we should compare them to is Google, because really the only company that hosts as much email and as much important data as Microsoft is Google, and to a lesser extent Amazon. And neither Google nor Amazon have had these intrusions announced in the last year. Does that mean it never happens? No. Google in particular is kind of famous for really turning up their security. An equivalent attack happened in 2009 when the Chinese government broke into Google, and that kind of really changed security across the entire tech industry. This is not a great look for Microsoft, especially because it looks like, from the small amount of information they gave us, that this was a pretty simple kind of attack called a password spray, something that can be prevented by two-factor authentication. And Microsoft was not enforcing their own policies on certain systems. They've promised to do better. It's hard to judge how big of a deal it is until we get more information. And to me,
the Russian government gets Microsoft again. The Russian ninja hackers, more than one of the world's largest corporations can withstand. Attackers using Red Linux from 1998, breaching modern Microsoft infrastructure. Truly remarkable and an embarrassment for Microsoft. Almost as embarrassing as Hertz. Everybody was laughing about Hertz getting rid of their EVs. Well, I guess Wall Street didn't think it was that funny.
Not been a good year so far for electric vehicles, with car rental companies phasing them out, shedding their fleets, and automakers slashing production. This morning, Morgan Stanley analyst Adam Jonas, remember the Jonas Brothers, by the way, said each day brings increasing signs of slowing global EV demand. And this could potentially get worse with another Trump presidency and the end of tax credits for those EVs. Our next guest just downgraded Hertz from a buy to a hold and says the EV problems aren't going to go away overnight, despite what Hertz has done. Stephanie Moore is equity research analyst at Jefferies. Stephanie, welcome. I love it when an analyst puts a stake in the ground, as you just have. I mean, you have cut the estimates on EBITDA by 40% next year to $500 million, lower than the consensus by more than $300 million. What's wrong here with Hertz?
No, absolutely. And thank you for having me. No, I mean, what we're seeing right now, it's really two factors that are coming into play. The first is that used vehicle values, particularly EVs, as you have noted, have decreased pretty materially on the EV side, but also broadly across the board. And that's certainly having a pressure on car rental stocks, but mostly Hertz, as you noted. The second issue is actually very unique to Hertz in that they are seeing elevated EV costs from higher damages and repairs related to these EVs. And these are higher damages and repair claims versus even, internal combustion engine vehicles. This is creating a lot of just lack of visibility into when these issues are going to actually subside over time. So while you noted we did cut our estimates to about $500 million.
I read some research about transitions to EVs, and this seems to be what's really hurting Hertz, is when a gas driver gets an EV, their chances of accident go up quite a bit higher initially. There seems to be just a transition period predominantly around learning how to throttle, feather that accelerator. So the data's there. For short-term EV drivers, they crash more. I think also data suggests that if you are predominantly an EV driver and you transition back to gas, you also have issues. We just don't have as much data there. There's not as many transitions going that way. But I think there could be a bit of that at play. People don't know how to drive these cars. They're way faster than they expect. And then you also have some of the manufacturers that just seem to have done it wrong, because it's not just Hertz that's having a problem. Ford is having major issues with their EV line.
Welcome back. Ford is cutting production of its F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck in a move that will impact over 1,000 workers and move consumers away from all electric vehicles as well.
See, here's what I think. In my opinion, it is both the product doesn't meet the expectations of the consumer, especially in the case of a truck, where if you pull something with this thing, you get dramatically less range. If you load the bed up, you get dramatically less range. There's a lot of neat tech in there, but fundamentally, that's an issue. Secondarily, the charging takes too long. None of the charging stations really accommodate a truck with a trailer, so you're pretty much stuck charging at home for that kind of setup, which means you can't go very far from home. And then they're expensive. And I think right now, people are cutting back on non-essential purchases. Instead of getting that new Ford truck, they're keeping the existing Ford truck and they're making that work because everything's more expensive. And so people are cutting back. And you see that in a collapse in beer sales. You see that in a collapse in Disney park visits. You see it in all these discretionary spending areas that are not getting money right now. And I happen to think fancy-ass EVs might be slightly on the discretionary side, especially if you have an existing vehicle that just needs a little bit of work. So I think Ford's got a problem here because, A, they're behind Tesla in a lot of ways, and B, a lot like the Apple Vision Pro, they're trying to sell it to a market that's feeling really pinched right now.
Will impact over 1,000 workers and move consumers away from all electric vehicles as well. Fox Business's Jeff Flock is live this morning from a Ford dealership in New Jersey with the impact. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Maria. Here it is. It's a beautiful looking truck. This is the F-150 Lightning, one that is on the showroom floor here in Celebrity Ford in Toms River, New Jersey. Veronica Maioli, we always come to her when we want some honest answers. She is the youngest Ford dealer, female Ford dealer in America. How's it selling?
You know, it's a really beautiful truck, but we're having some trouble getting it off of our lot. There's a lot of charging concerns. A lot of commercial companies don't really want to have to spend the time to charge. And, you know,
Jesus, this is so devastatingly embarrassing for Ford corporate. Their youngest female dealer is on Fox Business this morning saying they can't move these trucks. Seems like somebody ought to be cutting me a great deal. Maybe I should be able to go get me a Ford Lightning at a fire sale. Wait, I should probably use a different term.
You know, they add weight to the back of the truck. It's a little bit of a struggle right now.
We got pictures, Maria, of the Rouge plant. That's where they've just eliminated one shift and, hundreds of workers. What do you think as you go forward? A lot of people are getting into hybrids these days. Yeah?
This guy seems like he's really struggling, and he doesn't know anything about this.
Yeah, I think that that's the way that things are going to go. I think that we all know and we all talk about how it is just the infrastructure is not there yet for EVs. And I think that they're trying to move a little bit too fast. So the happy medium right now is a hybrid.
Yeah, we're looking at the market share for hybrids doubled in the last month, for which we have numbers. And also hybrids can be a better buy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a smooth drive. You know, you don't have to worry about always having to charge. You have the option to have that, eco, mode, but you don't have to have the charger. You don't have to depend on that.
Yeah. And of course, hybrids, as you know, Maria, they're not exactly a new thing. They've been around for 25 years. And actually, the technology is pretty perfected by now, right? Unlike with the EVs.
Absolutely. You know, we're still doing a lot of research and data analytics on EV. We don't know what the value is of the cars after. We don't know even the battery life capability right now.
Oh, devastating.
So, that's one of the big concerns.
Those are body blows. I cannot believe one of their prominent dealers is saying that, and he's not even having to pry it out of her. He's not having to grill her. He's setting her up with cliche narrative questions, and then she's just unloading hard consumer concerns that are devastating the sales. Wow. I wonder if she has any. She must have no ambitions about a future at Ford Corporate. None.
A lot of research and data analytics on EV. We don't know what the value is of the cars after. We don't know even the battery life capability right now. So, that's one of the big concerns.
And this is why we come here, Maria, for straight.
Wow. Damn. That girl just buried Ford EV. She just buried them.
Not Tesla, are you? Failed you have.
That lady, that woman, damn, wow. Wow.
Oh, are you politically correct now?
Well, I mean, she's, I don't know how old she is. I don't know.
But is there a difference between lady and woman in terms of age?
I don't know. I don't know because I don't
know. Most countries it's 18.
Right. If she was talking about us and she called us boys, I wouldn't find that offensive, I suppose.
Yeah, but we're boys, yo.
Boys. Boys. Yeah, we are. Hey, how you doing over there?
Strong with the force.
Oh yeah, good. I was just watching news about Microsoft getting hacked. That's always good. I
mean, I'm not happy. I'm looking forward to being a Microsoft partner. Am I $40,000 back?
Microsoft, your reputation, man, it's on the line.
No, it isn't. They all get hacked.
Oh, come on.
What?
This is the third time in the last 2 years or something.
I will cry the day they hack Craig Federighi's glorious main.
Yeah. Okay.
And we all know what I'm talking about. It's tight. I'm talking about.
All right, chat room, you got a bang suggest. You got to bang suggest because we gotta get a title and then
Get the hell out of here.
and that's the
business.
So that's what we need from you. Please get in that chat room, coder.show/matrix, and bang suggest away. Are you ready over there?
Jawohl.
All right. I got the window cracked. It's raining. All right. Hello, Drew. How do you do? Nice to see you. Mr. Dominic, please jump in at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
Yeah. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. Just start banging away. It is go time for the pod.
Get off my bridge.
That's right. And here we go. In a 3, in a 2. This is Coder Radio, episode 554 for January 22nd, 2024. Hey there, you look nice today, and welcome into Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and the business of software development, the whole gosh darn world of technology. My name is Chris, and joining us every single week, it's our host over there, Mr. Dominic. Hello, Mike.
Me so back, bitches.
I even tried to get your place swatted just to get Jar Jar out of there. Instead, all I got back was selfies.
Well, you know what? The SWAT teams in Florida are wise.
Yeah.
They deal with Florida man every day, so they're pretty tough.
I know.
Right? Like, when you're dealing with a guy who's got a pen of alligators.
I'm amateur hour over here.
Well, no, it's they know Jar Jar is really the ultimate Sith Lord. They're like, our guns ain't gonna do crap. And our Kevlar might as well be tissue paper against his amazing Sith Binks lightsaber. And, of course, the bomba.
The what?
The bomba. You remember Jar Jar calls the bombs bombas? It's like the bomba, right? Like the dance. He's like Gloria Esteban. Yeah. Jar Jar is a complex, nuanced character.
Yeah, he is. God, just so great. So I'm a little grumpy this morning. I came in a little hot. I got to be honest with you. So maybe it's not Jar Jar's fault, but I am getting, I don't know, man. Like, I know this isn't totally new territory here for a lot of you, but are your Macs harassing you every single day to upgrade to macOS Sonoma? Are you getting this push notification?
Yeah, but I think I did it, though. I did it out of annoyance.
I know. I only have a couple of these things around. I got like an Intel one and the M1 Max, and every day I'm now getting push notifications to upgrade to macOS Sonoma. And look, I'm a guy who loves updating. I update my Linux boxes all the time, and they generally are getting better as a result, so I like those updates. But that just hasn't been the case for macOS for years now. I can't think of a single net benefit to me upgrading because I got myself out of like using the pro apps for production and stuff and switched all over to Linux. So none of my apps, none of the free software apps like force me to upgrade the OS to maintain compatibility with them. Like that's just not a thing. And I am remarkably shocked at like how a free OS update basically cost me $100 per Mac because of all the little third-party apps that also have to be upgraded to maintain compatibility. And, God bless, they got to eat. Each one of them charges to upgrade, usually an upgrade price, but still. Like, set aside $100 for every free Mac OS update. Plus, anytime you have to spend breaking whatever compatibility thing it broke for whatever net benefit that I legitimately could not quantify. And it's been like this for years. I have like a strategy now of like sticking on to the oldest, longest possible release of macOS I can. And like bare minimum, you wait for like a point release or two. Bare minimum, you wait for like a point release or two. Bare min, before you update. And you just try to stretch that out as far as you can. And when you do get your $200 or whatever it is, because each Mac has to be licensed individually typically. Unless you get it from the App Store, but then you have limited features. Just think of it. I think their upgrade process
I guess
stinks.
it's not been my experience, but most of my tool chain that's Mac specific is like from Apple.
Yeah.
The glorious dumpster fire that is Xcode.
Yeah.
I actually rage quit Adobe, which we'll see how long this is like quitting a drug addiction. We'll see how long I last.
Yeah, you're going to have to get that Creative Cloud back in your veins.
Well, literally, I went a week and somebody sent me an AI file, and that was a disappointing experience.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, boost in out there. Let me know. Maybe this isn't a problem for you. Maybe your upgrade experiences are great. But for me, it's not so much that the Mac OS upgrade itself fails. That's generally pretty rock solid. It's all of the third-party applications, and there's just so many of them you need to make a Mac usable. And mind you, I'm not some like Mac OS Luddite. I have some credentials here, considering I've been using Mac OS or whatever you want to call it since it booted off floppy disk and you could load single user mode or multitasking mode. I mean, I have literally watched every UI paradigm and iteration of Mac OS since the Mac.
Oh yeah, you used to host the Apple Action Show.
Oh yeah, man. we used to host a website called Reg Excellence, where it was all about hacking Mac OS. And anyways,
nice.
The point of is like I get how to use, and it's not there. For a power user, in my opinion, it needs certain tools, and those tools cost a bunch to upgrade, and it makes every Mac OS update a bear. And it's the exact opposite of my experience on Linux. It's gross. Anyways, rant over. At least on Windows, you can hang out for a few years pretty solidly. Like, there's still people that are rocking Windows 10 confidently out there right now.
Are we like starting to become assimilated by the Windows hive mind? Is that what's happening to us?
No. It is. I've recognized that nobody in the Apple community calls out how painful this process is, because what we focus on is Mac OS is free. The updates are free now.
It's not free.
Right. It's way not free. It's way not free. It's expensive in the third-party sense. It's expensive in the time sense. Applications generally break, especially in the audio production realm. Anyways, I just can't believe this is the state of the Mac. It's embarrassing. And it's like a non-issue on iOS.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
All right.
So it's funny you complain about this.
All right, give it to me.
Last night, and I woke. Nothing wakes me up more pissed off than seeing the hello screen on my iPhone.
Stay a while and listen.
So, for example, por ejemplo en español. Why?
Oh, no.
Why?
So it's like back to the welcome to your phone screen. You just got a new iPhone.
So, it's Monday. A day filled with my ears being soaking wet from wearing AirPods and headphones because I'm on the goddamn phone all day. Right? I was briefly out ill, so that just makes things worse. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like chasing things around. They changed the speaker button to the mute button on the telephone app for some reason that now perhaps God knows, but I don't. Let me tell you how many times I was talking this morning to a customer, and he or she would go, "Hey, Mike, I think you muted yourself again."
Oh, no.
Because they literally reversed, and I'm sure... Now, I don't know... So I'm like an old man, right? I love speakerphone for business. I hate my ears. This is maybe a little inside baseball and too gross. My ears sweat when I wear it. Like at the end of the show, I have to use a Q-tip and clean out my ears. When we do doubles, I'm basically dying. I just sweat a lot. I don't like anything near my ears. I don't like things on my ears. AirPods, but I purposely kept the vanilla AirPods 2 because they don't have that soft, is it like rubber plastic? I don't know.
Sure.
Because that stuff, like, I feel like my ears are clogged and whatever. So I'm, like, sensitive to this. And, like, when, my little man's not running around, there's no, like, teenage girls at my house. I should rephrase that. Stepdaughter's friends, not a Jeffrey Epstein thing. Giggling and carrying on that I have to kind of seem more professional. I just do all my calls on speakerphone. Like I'm Donald Trump from 1987. Yet somehow... Apple, probably because we've been ragging on them for their App Store policies, has decided to reverse the buttons.
Yeah, what could go wrong? Just swap them.
But, like, the phone app, do you need to innovate on phone calls?
No, the phone app should only change every 10, 20 years. That's when my family would get a new phone.
20,000 years at this point. It's a goddamn phone.
Can I make a speakerphone recommendation?
Oh, please.
Anchor makes a pretty competitive product, but I actually think the HomePod Mini on the desk makes a good little speakerphone because it's got like the mic array.
So I thought about that, and I didn't want to tell you this week because we have so much Apple hate in this episode, and I didn't want to make you cry.
Uh-oh.
But, Chris,
yeah,
There's been a death in my kitchen.
No, not the HomePod.
He died with pride.
Oh, did it get wet? Did it get dunked?
No, I've been having to reset it about once a month for a while.
Yeah.
And my HomePod it's the OG HomePod.
Yeah, and some of them start going crazy.
Well, Siri's always been a little out there, but yeah. I have a backup because I sort of may have
I got one in a box still.
I've got like my illegal Russian arms HomePod closet.
I got a smuggled HomePod that's just waiting in case one of them fails.
But I came to a hard decision that unless Apple releases another HomePod of the same quality,
I know,
because I'm actually down to my last 2 backup HomePods.
I'm with you.
I might have to go, and it pisses me off more because this is exactly what Marco's doing too.
You're not going to go Sonos, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to.
So I can't go Google because I'm all Apple,
and it's all crap anyways. The Google stuff
sucks.
Yeah, and there are on the Android side. There's a lot of apps that have Chromecast, so that gives you some optionality. But yeah, no.
Yeah. The problem with the Sonos stuff though is like there's a wide range of like they've definitely diluted that brand quite a bit.
Yeah,
like, there's good stuff that costs a fortune, and there's all the crap that IKEA wants to sell you.
I know.
So,
I know.
I'm not joking. Sonos actually has a thing with IKEAs.
I think ultimately I'm going to roll my own solution, but I just haven't gotten there.
Yeah, but that's so much work.
I know.
I mean, I guess they didn't sell the HomePods enough.
Yeah. Well, if Siri didn't suck so much, maybe they would.
Siri is retarded. I mean, she's really no offense to mentally challenged kids, but Siri, I actually think she's kind of malicious too. When I'm in the car and I'm like, hey, can you get me to there? She's like, navigating you to Chili's in Georgia. What? Why?
I've had major issues with her. Yeah, with her home automation integration now, and now they've reduced the activation phrase to just the S word. She's firing off all the time. So it's
although I will say, Alexa has been giving me headaches because my kid has a friend named Alex.
Oh God, that's annoying.
Yeah, and like they're 7.
Well, before
go ahead. Before we bitch on Alexa, go ahead.
Before we go to, we should really just take a moment and say thank you everybody who signed up and became a member. We had a nice little jump. Well, we had about 10 people join last week.
Woot!
Appreciate you, Coder QA crew. You can find details at our website and sign up and support the show. I have a link in the show notes. This is a member-funded show, so thank you everybody. We really appreciate it.
Business.
All right, now back to the Apple stuff. That's out of the way. Yeah, I know, and they're all cutting back. It's all about AI now, and I guess securing the moats. After we wrapped up the show last week,
such shitty luck,
we had the worst luck on the timing because you and I were just getting into how Apple isn't going to give these guys the break they expect with these new rules that went into effect. Thanks to the Supreme Court deciding they weren't going to revisit the Epic Apple trial. And after we wrapped up the show, Apple came out with their new policy, and it dunks hard on developers. They are allowing app-to-web payments, but their fee, instead of the 30% cut, it's like 3 or 4% less. So when you go send somebody out to the web to make a payment, to make this clear, Apple's still applying like a 27%, 28% Apple Store tax. And then you send them to Stripe or whatever it is that you're having on your website, and then there's Stripe's fee in there.
And then they whip out an Amex, and it's actually more.
And it's just, it is both intimidating in the way that it gets developers involved. You highlighted this in your blog post, which I thought was an excellent point that you made, is that the way this works is you have to apply as a developer to get this feature so people can go to the web to subscribe or to buy. You have to apply each app individually for a special OS entitlement via Xcode, and Apple could just, in theory, well, they could deny it, but more likely, as you point out, they're probably just going to scrutinize every app that has this flag to the nth degree.
It's like driving a red sports car at 2 a.m. and swerving a little bit. You're gonna get pulled over.
Yeah, so this is basically the flag that says, check my app out. Make sure you throw the book at me and I have to go through every hoop and follow every policy before you allow it.
Well, the entitlement is actually an X code colonoscopy.e entitlement. So.
I think that's right. I checked the documentation on that. DHH, of course, who we've been talking about on this show a lot.
Calm as ever.
Oh, yeah.
Meditating in a grotto, just really experiencing the nurturing energy of Mother Nature, right? He's super chill, super zen.
Oh, my goodness. If you want to read along, this guy must subscribe to Twitter just so that he can write rants this long. And he's had 362,000 views on this screed, I think. When something's that long, I don't think it's a rant. I think it's a screed. He says that Apple's using strong-arm tactics and that this is going to hurt their relationship with developers, much like Microsoft did back in the past, and that Microsoft has had to spend years rebuilding trust with developers, and that Apple would do best to learn from their mistakes. Here's a quote that I pulled. Quote, Apple would be wise to study the long arc of Microsoft's history to learn that you can win the battle, say maybe against Epic, and end up losing the war for the hearts and minds of developers. And while the price for that loss lags beyond the current platform, it'll eventually come due, and they'll rue the day they chose this wretched path.
Just the use of the word wretched is really good. It's like, I don't even know what to say about this. It's actually worse than I could have predicted, which... do they feel that our friends in the EU or even sleepy Congress isn't going to wake up and be like, so you got a federal judge who said you guys were jackasses on this one issue, and you decided to do the letter of the order in the most aggressive violating of the spirit of the order way possible. Like, I knew they were going to do some shenanigans, but there's so many cases, and this maybe is a little weird for our European listeners, or our non-states listeners. So, if somebody's using an Amex card, and I know I'm harping on this, it's actually more than the App Store, right? Because
with several payment processors, it really could be.
Discovering cases can be, right? Like a Diners Club, if they're still around.
If Apple's putting a 27-28% fee, it's not uncommon for a payment processor to take 5%.
Yeah. Stripe is what, 3.5,
yeah.
3.5 at the minimum.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, because it varies by, and it varies by your chargeback risk, right? So this is why I don't take credit cards, by the way, because it sucks. It's really, I'm shocked that Apple, and this is where I have to say, I think Marco and the gang at ATP really kind of did have a good point. I think I would put it a little harder. It's because of stock prices, but they're so addicted to this App Store revenue. They can't conceive of a way to not have it.
I'll try to steelman it. So
okay,
if the payment processing is, say, if most payment processing is somewhere between 5 and 3%, well, perhaps that's why they've reduced their fee by 5 to 3%, because they can claim, well, that's the only bit of the cost that is the payment processing. The rest is all the other value add we bring. We bring 28% of your app's worth in value to the platform. 28% of your app's value is being in our app store, being on our platform, being on our device.
Oh, I would take that even further. They called them apps, which probably is a misnomer. They consider them OS extensions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The value is iOS,
right?
The device, not.
Yeah, it's a Nintendo Switch. And so it is surprising and not, because this is what Google is doing in South Korea, and seemingly what they plan to do in the UK, and this is also what Apple is doing in South Korea and the Netherlands. So their defense can be, well, we're already doing this in multiple countries. This is our standardized approach.
Well, they have an even simpler defense. What do you mean? We did what Judge Daniels told us to do. They did it in the most dickish way possible, but they did it.
DHH has a point, though. I think there is a cost building up, like a developer debt that is building up here, because we may be seeing the early days of this kind of blowback with the Vision Pro, because it launches soon, and we know that there's going to be no Netflix app. There's going to be no YouTube app. several other high-profile apps not going to be on there.
Well, I mean, I think all those content companies have learned their lesson from the music industry, right? Like look at Apple TV or iTunes for movies. It didn't have the dominance that Apple Music did, or before iTunes, because no one. I mean, let's call a spade here. Apple rolled the music industry in a lot of ways. I know nobody likes the RIAA, but
yeah, I just think this has more to do. I mean, I think you're right. This is part of it, but I think it's also it's the cut. It's the App Store cut. It's the limitations.
It's not just the cut. So let me ask you a question, and I'll put it to the audience too. I don't like the Vision Pro as a product, and we'll get into that. But I love the iPad, right? If by any stretch, I don't care how much of a hater you are, the iPads and the new iPads that are going to come out are extremely powerful Star Trek level tablets. Like just the hardware itself, right? Just the glass and metal out of the box. The problem is Apple, it's not just the 30%. I would even say I would gladly pay, well, I wouldn't gladly pay it, but I would begrudgingly pay it if I knew that my investment in developing a true pro-level iPad app that did things for production, not just consumption of media, but production of media, research, whatever the app did, something really different and cool, not just reading JSON out of a Postgres database and rendering it on a screen, right? If it really didn't, if I knew it would really go on the App Store and didn't have a risk of arbitrary and frankly sometimes capricious rejections or requests for modification, if I could control my launch date without having to put a ton of fat in the calendar for it, if Apple would loosen the hell up on their API restrictions, that device, it's like watching someone who's a Mensa teenager take up heroin and just waste all their potential, because that's what that is.
It's wasted potential.
It's an amazing device with beautiful hardware. If they're going to come out with an OLED one, that's even better. That is basically a glorified tool to get kids to be quiet at restaurants. I'm sure you've seen this too. How many kids have little iPad minis when mom and dad just want to have a goddamn plate of macaroni or whatever and a beer, right, for lunch, and tired of hearing the kid fidget, or people watching porn. It should be a lot of folks' primary computer, but they won't allow the type of software that it needs to run on it.
Yeah,
because of their crazy policies.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, it's.
I think it's
and
fair.
The Vision Pro.
And I think if I were Google and YouTube and Netflix, I'd be like, yeah, we'll see. If they get a million users, we'll consider it.
Well, I don't know why Google hasn't been able to come out with a good tablet. I mean, it's Android. They're under some ancient curse where they can't succeed in hardware.
Yeah.
Other than Samsung.
Microsoft, on the other hand, is going to have native Vision OS apps, including Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and Teams. They're all going to be in there. OmniPlan is going to be in there, which sounds kind of nice. Zoom, WebEx will have apps. PCalc, of course, about 230
PCalc is
apps.
Always ready to launch.
Yeah, PCalc is. You can count on it. And then, of course, iPhone and iPad apps will automatically be available on the Vision Pro unless the developer opts out in the connector.
It's just iPad.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's just iPad. And yeah, again, a sneaky way for Apple to goose its numbers. You have to actually go through the trouble of opting out, which is...
Yeah, you have to go opt out. Yeah, you have to go
into
the
I just want to say,
Connect.
Netflix and a bunch of other of those type of services did. So it's interesting. And there was some meeting with Craig Federighi's glorious chest hair trying to talk to Netflix, being like, come on, guys. Come on.
You'd think. I don't know. Maybe they don't talk much now that they have a competing streaming service. Maybe there's bad blood. I hope not. There are moments, even just this last weekend, there are moments where I think, yeah, the Apple Vision Pro would be a nice product for me if I could get my work done. Because I'm going to be traveling in April for about a month on the road and trying to do the shows, trying to keep the workflow going and everything like that. It'd just be really nice to have a bunch of virtual screens in a consistent work environment when you're traveling for a month straight. It just seems extremely appealing to me. But it's just too early to know because this thing, I think, lives and dies on what the developers bring to the platform. And so far, what I've seen doesn't seem very spatial to me. It's just, I mean, I guess in a way it's fine. If I just want a work device, maybe I just want a lot of windows.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little more skeptical because I was listening to some people reviewing it, particularly The Verge, and the way Apple's demoing these in these super ideal environments. Like, I think once folks get their hands on these bad boys, we're gonna see what's your $3,500 buy you. And by the way, it's not $3,500 because you need. Like, if you buy this thing and don't buy the case to protect it, you're crazy.
Yeah, you might as well get the 512 version too. So now you're like at 3,800 or something like that.
It's like $4,200, right? It's like, I don't know. And then there's you need a holster, which looks like a BlackBerry phone case for the battery that Apple seems to keep forgetting to put in their marketing photos, running a cable like a Cyberman down your neck. Yeah.
I don't know.
This is you want it to be good, but
you're right.
It's bad.
But here's my last thought on it. Here's my last thought. Right? And then I was using my daughter's Oculus Quest this weekend and fixing a few things and going through the menu system. And I thought, if it was just even 10% better than this Oculus Quest, maybe 10-20% better, they got a real product here. It's been a while since I used the Quest, and I really like it. It is fun being in that environment. And my daughter has this really cool app where she can build out her own drum set and, set up loops and create all these different songs in this complete virtual space. I had an app that gave me a virtual office with multiple screens where I could bring in my computer screen. All of that was really compelling. It was just a little too low res for me to stare at those screens for that long. And the apps were a little slow, and the device was a little slow. It wasn't more than a 10-20% uncanny valley that needed to be filled and closed. And if Apple is only expecting, according to Bloomberg, to sell 300,000 to 400,000 Pros in 2024 of these Vision Pros, I think that's a very realistic expectation because we've seen somewhere between 80,000 and as high as 160,000 units sold over the launch weekend. We don't know. 160 to 180 is the number that keeps getting kicked around. And Apple's got a target of 300 to 400 for the entire year. That's really reasonable. I mean, you're not going to break the barrier of million users. It's going to bring apps, but you're going to seed to a dedicated set that is going to help iterate on this thing. And I think the move here is clear. You bring this down to Apple Vision Air and Apple Vision.
Sure.
And, then you get to 2 million users. It's just not there yet.
You're totally right.
So if that's the case, is it too ridiculous to roll the dice, pick one up, and try to get on the ground floor with an app that, becomes known as one of the Vision Pro productivity apps?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the problem.
All right,
here,
I know because of the rules and stuff, but it just seems like if you could fit
it's not just the rules. Let's forget the rules for a second. These apps are going to be super expensive to develop. And I know my indie heart is I'm thinking of like small developers here. I don't know, unless you're like half-assing it and like doing an iPad port, I don't know how you really are developing something deep for this that, doesn't fight, you're not at risk from the rules. But more importantly, the development budget. And in the beginning, people will be able to charge for apps. It's a new platform. I get it. But this thing's going to regress to the App Store economics. And man, oh man, is it getting tough to justify native app development in the consumer market with people's just unwillingness to goddamn pay for anything.
I think Safari will be the MVP of this device. People are going to be busting out to Safari for so much stuff. Let's be honest.
And they're going to be going in incognito mode. That's what this is for.
All right. Okay.
All right. I hope to be proven wrong here, but I think they're going to have a very specific clientele. I'll put it to you that way.
Let's cover one more story in this space. Kind of a disappointment, and I could only imagine what this feels like for Google employees. But the Google CEO has gone to the internal email list to say, hey, just so you know, everybody's job's at risk for the rest of the year. Don't freak out.
Well, so last year, this is interesting. Google was kind of criticized for not cutting enough compared to, say, a Meta or an Amazon. But this year, right, we've had headline after headline of these cuts coming at the beginning of the year. And last night, in that memo, Senator Pichai warning that there's more to come. But there's this idea of maybe there's a different reason behind these job cuts. What if they're the beginning of a new trend? So rather than playing catch up or correcting post-pandemic, this is actually Google getting into position for an AI platform shift that will require a different kind of workforce. I want to read part of that memo from Pichai last night. He wrote that the reality is that to create capacity for AI investment, we have to make tough choices. And so for some teams, that means removing layers to simplify execution and drive velocity. So Tyler, over the last few years, higher interest rates, the efficiency drive, that was the cover for layoffs, or the reason, however you want to look at it. This year, though, you could hear companies saying AI or the machines made me do it. They're looking for different kinds of workforces. It may not necessarily mean layoffs, but also a different kind of hiring.
I don't believe you.
So you're a small business owner. I'm a small business owner. You've done lots of hiring. I've done plenty of hiring, especially back in my IT career, lots of hiring. It's a fact that it is easier to retrain a competent, intelligent, good hire and have them focus on a new task than it is to bring in somebody green in a field that is a totally green field to begin with and train them up from the very ground up, especially like some of these people that have been there for years, decade. This whole thing, again, is more AI whitewashing about just a year's worth of layoffs because they have to transition to an AI strategy.
So what, you don't blame Sam Altman for all your problems?
I thought they were an AI company all along. Remember, that's what they told us when ChatGPT was announced, that Google wasn't worried because they've always been an AI company.
See,
remember that line?
This is your problem. You don't watch enough Scooby-Doo. AI company was the first mask under Don't Be Evil, but there was a second mask. And when you rip off the AI mask, it turns out we're chasing share price all along. I mean, that's what this is about, right? Wall Street is super thirsty for layoffs right now, and Satya's given the douchebags what they want. I don't know. I mean, sorry, Drew, you're going to have to do a lot of cleanup on this.
Yeah, here's the story, though. I mean, this is just, of course, Wired's now trying to get me to buy it. But I see a story from June 22nd, 2016, how Google is remaking itself into a machine learning first company. If you want to build artificial intelligence into every product, you better retrain your army of coders. Check.
Okay.
And this is from Wired 2016.
Can I?
So I thought they were already an AI company. So why all the layoffs?
No, they were. Don't you remember their reaction to ChatGPT? Well, we could have obviously done this, but we were responsible,
right?
And, did not do it. Everybody's fired. What? Another 10%. Shopping my ex. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's the stock price, right? Or am I the only one who's?
Oh, of course, it's just remarkable, and kind of sad and disappointing how much the economics and the stock market drive everything and every narrative we're being crammed down our throat, all the way down to individual OS features, like all of those, digital awareness about your usage features. It's all about getting the Wall Street machine to pump money and attention their way.
It's not their fault, man. Listen, when you've been detoxing on the money printer heroin, you need some methadone. And where are you going to get the methadone? If you can't get it from the Treasury, you got to get it from Wall Street. So. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's the problem here.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, it's still amazing to me how flat-footed Google seems to have gotten caught with this. Like, OpenAI.
Yeah.
And then Microsoft was just like, Sam Altman, will you be the Vader to our emperor? Like, it's working. And I mean, I don't know how Google. How can I put this in a way that's not going to get me roasted on YouTube or banned? Google doesn't seem as focused. I mean, they never are, but in particular on this AI stuff, like they tried to wrap themselves in the flag and in morality and in wokeness and whatever and say, oh, we're trying to be responsible. And when that did not goose their share price, right, when their share went down, all of a sudden they sharpen the axes and they're talking about AI every day.
Yeah.
So I'm worried well, not worried, but it seems that Google, like, is it possible they really were caught by surprise? I think they should know everything.
I think they're more dysfunctional than Microsoft at their worst. Diane posted on one of the social media sites. I'll link to it in the show notes. She says she's a staff software engineer at Google, and this is what she wrote. My hot take, Google does not have one single visionary leader, not a one. From the C-suite to the SVP to the VPs, they all profoundly are boring and glassy-eyed. Google has not launched one single successful executive-driven thing in years. Sometimes VPs try to decree, quote, we need a new chat app or an AI-first demo. Kind of like implying that they rally around Google I.O. She goes on to say, there's a huge death march, and in the end, the thing is half-baked and roundly derided. If it doesn't,
and they kill all their stuff. If you're trying to partner with them, you have to wonder, is this going to be around in
So she
6
says,
months?
if it doesn't get 100 million users in 6 months, they give up on it and shut it down. She's like, she writes, and this one really hits. It's like that joke algorithm I learned about in college, BOGO sort. In each iteration of the algorithm, you reorder everything randomly, and if the elements happen to land in order, you're done. Some of Google's executives are competent referees. I couldn't name which, but I feel like I've seen it done in my last 8+ years. They point in a direction. Their subordinates seem to swarm in that area. They try a bunch of stuff, and sometimes something sticks and is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, all these boring, glassy-eyed leaders are trying to point in a vague direction, AI, while at the same time killing their golden goose. Given that they have no real vision of their own, they really need their subordinates to come up with the cool stuff for them. And at the same time, they have been rolling layoffs for the past 6 to 12 months, which is going throughout the entire company, including engineering, sales, support, UX, product, data science, SRE, everything. Just randomly firing people, torching institutional knowledge, and blowing up perfectly functional teams.
Well, and it scares your workforce, which your folks are your army, right? Like, you don't want an army who thinks the lieutenant's going to shoot them in the back.
Well, so you read that. And then you think about Pichai sending that memo out saying, for the rest of the year, we're going to be doing these rando-y seeming layoffs. Morale just must be tanked.
Right. Like, as a leader, why would you, imagine, Chris, you walk into JB Virtual HQ.
Yeah. Or just imagine, come on some of the shows, and for a year, I say, hey, I'm going to fire one of you guys. We're going to cancel one of these shows. You're going to find out soon. And I just say that.
Actually, I honestly think we could do a Hunger Games.
Wait a minute.
I mean, I'd probably
back
lose.
It up. Okay, back it up.
I'm not a good fighter, and Wes seems pretty scrappy. But
I'd be worried about Brent. He's got sometimes weird moose strength. He's so nice, but then you get him hungry, and that moose strength kicks in, and he gets dangerous.
Well, I'll send him a bucket of KFC first. And Alan Jude has devil powers from BSD, so who knows? But
I know.
No, seriously, think of it. Dude, their blood is basically maple syrup. And I love Canadians, some of my best customers. Think about the calculation, Satya, who is an incredibly brilliant man, right? The guy is next level. He could run circles around 5 of us combined. Decided that it was a good idea, because it probably was, by his metrics, to tank morale, to send this insane missive.
It's got to be a gentleman's
the stock
layoff,
price
right?
would go up.
They've done the you must return to the office gentleman's layoffs, and now it's we're going to make you hate this place and just quit gentleman's layoffs. Maybe
I'm sorry, not Satya, Sindar. I'm sorry.
Could it be that they're just trying to get people to quit?
Well, yeah, because you don't have to pay any severance or anything.
But you just tank your competitiveness, and I can't imagine that's it. I can't figure that's it.
No, you don't. What else could it be? Seriously, we've both run small businesses for years. I can't imagine. I mean, I did something like this once, but it wasn't for such weird reasons. People were slow on product flow. I sent a mean email with the title "The Party's Over."
Oh my God, that's it. That's it.
Go ahead.
Leadership management thinks it's the staff's fault, and the staff all think it's the leadership's fault.
Ooh.
And that's where this energy comes from. That's why he's coming in hot.
They're angry.
This. Yes.
So they're angry. Yeah, I was angry, right? I was pissed off, and I mean, don't listen to me, Sundar, but I did fire a few people, and things got better for a while. So
wild. I mean, I can totally see, and it makes sense in a lean, mean, survival situation.
But that's a startup. Like we were 10 people,
and
right?
it didn't probably take you a year.
Oh, it took me 2 weeks to fire the 2 people I
Yeah.
fired because they were, this is maybe too inside baseball, but our development bandwidth actually went up because these were people who, they're not bad people, right? They just needed help, and they weren't, one of them had fibbed on his resume, and the other was just not performing, I'll say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
This
yeah,
is a wild development out of Google. So they've been flat-footed now. We're way past when they should have had a decent response. We've had Gemini, we've had Bard. Neither one of them seem to be moving the needle for anybody. Meanwhile, Microsoft and OpenAI continue to move at a pretty rapid clip.
Microsoft's like Michael Jordan in the Space, not the second one, the first Space Jam movie, the good Space Jam movie, just dunking left and right on them. He's like, okay, Satya forever.
Thank you, everybody who boosts into the show. You can get a new podcast app at podcastapps.com. You can also listen to the show live now in Boost. Get your thoughts in while we're recording, like Rotted Mood, who sent in a value for value boost while we were live. Fountain FM just hit 1.0, and it's fantastic. It integrates with Strike, which was one of my favorite ways to get sats really quick. Then you boost those in there, and you help support the show and get your message. And each boost goes to Editor Drew as well and the Podverse FM developers. And we'll have those coming up later in the show. Well, I feel like this is really embarrassing for Microsoft. I just can't believe that they've once again been hacked. And this time it's, quote, senior leadership emails that have been supposedly accessed by Russian solar wind hackers. Beginning in late November 2023, the attacker did a password spray attack and compromised a legacy non-production testnet account, which then gained a foothold and moved on to the system from there. A little island hopping, as I like to call it. Good old just spray and pray password attack, and they got in. Like one of the most simple, basic. And what's so funny is when I picture Microsoft, I've been there many times, everybody's walking around with their badge and their 2 factors to authenticate for everything. I mean, Microsoft is very secure. You don't just walk around the campus.
One does not simply walk into
right.
Ravens.
And you don't just log into the machine with a password, right? That's not how anything works there. So it's very surprising that somewhere they were running these, quote, legacy systems, as they put it. They apparently were able to review senior leadership emails. They say legal documents, certain other functions, including getting some attachments off of the emails. It's embarrassing. And what's really kind of a zinger about it is the attack took place just days after Microsoft had announced its big fancy overhaul of software security following some major Azure attacks. And of course, Microsoft was at the center of the SolarWinds attack about 3 years ago, where 30,000 different organizations were also compromised as a result of an Exchange server flaw. This is rough, though. I mean, I know you say everybody gets hacked, but Microsoft is really a target. This is you gotta acknowledge when you have a stack of issues like this, there is a cohort of the market that starts saying we're going to avoid Microsoft just to avoid being rolled up in this large target.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
You think this just rolls off like water off of a software developer's back?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. It's really bad. This is some basic they just did a spray attack and got in.
Yeah, but it's Russia. I mean, comrade, come on.
Yeah. That's true.
We're loving you, Commander Bond. Yes, we try to poison you and shoot you, but it's Russia.
They do have the elite ninja hackers trained by Putin himself.
I would say, are you playing the International?
The Russian anthem, yeah, buddy. You got to respect those developers, those hackers, those Russian ninjas. They might have computers from 1997, but they were perfectly positioned to go after a legacy Microsoft system. And once again, On their
I just wanna
scrappy
mention
little connections, they've taken
Alice.Dev,
out one of the
always
greatest companies.
Moving your data out of legacy Microsoft.
Alice.tech, get it out of there. Move it out.
.dev. .dev. I got it.
Alice.dev.
I might only be a
Alice.dev. Move it
too.
out. Move it out of there.
There's one D-bag holding on to one of the domain names because he.
Oh, that always happens.
Oh, but he thinks it's worth $20,000.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I could just buy all the other ones. Okay.
You wouldn't believe what people charge to have the word Jupiter in a domain. Turns out,
this is
popular.
So this is the part where I get fired after 4,000 years, it feels like. I once opened a Mercury Broadcasting.
There's Saturn Broadcasting as well. Yeah.
And
Mars
was,
Broadcasting. There's a Mars
I was
Broadcasting.
trying to do radio plays, like fiction radio plays. And it turns out that dealing with actresses and actors is not something I would want to do until I go to hell.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah, and that was not a good. It was like going to be my side thing. I was like, this is so cool. I love old school radio plays like Johnny Dollar, all that stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, these people are as crazy as you think they are.
I got an idea of that just by participating in theater in high school. Maybe, but wait, does that make me one of the crazies?
Yeah, but you have beautiful hair.
Ask not what your podcast can boast for you, but what you can boast for your podcast.
We got some great messages this week. Ben, the guy from Fairbanks who incidentally spends part of the year living in Thailand, boosted in with 65,535 sats.
That's right. Champagne and cocaine. Let's go.
Happy New Year, he writes from the podcast Index. Regarding all the recent conference talk, I wanted to give a shout out to the FOSS Asia Summit. I went last year in Singapore, and it was super fun. They have a great crew, and I got to meet cool folks from across the community. So it's just so neat to bump into legit FOSS celebrities like Frank from Nextcloud. For folks on that side of the world, it'll be the 8th and the 10th of April at summit.fossasia.org in Hanoi, Hanoi. I'm probably saying that wrong. But Ben, thank you. I do like the meetup reports, even if they're just local meetups in your neighborhood, or if they're big events like FOSS Asia. Summit.fossasia.org if you want to check that out. Thank you very much, Ben. You are a baller this week. Mr. Borkander comes in with 54,321 sats.
I hoard that which your kind covet.
I see. It's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 boost. That sounds like we need like a blast off. There you go. He says the show must go on. Thank you for the support from Podverse.
Loving you.
OA Guy 1 boosts in with 34,000 sats from Castomatic. Hello! Longtime listener and Jupiter Party member. Here's some sats to say thanks for the amazing show. I've been a software pro now for 10 years, and I've listened to this podcast the entire time. I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, no, that's good.
I like how Chris apologized.
Yeah, no, that's good. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Boost!
Thank you. Nick Zip comes in with 25,000 sats. I love me the show and some independent media. Thank you. Thought Criminal comes in with a satchel of Richards, 11,101 sats. No sponsors, no message, and no boosts. Sorry we dropped the ball this week. Coder serves up the best bacon in the industry. Well, thank you. I do have some fresh bacon for you right here if you'd like it. Oh, yeah. That's a little local special. I got a little gift card from Savannah Meats from Mom for Christmas, so I went over there and got you some bacon. And it is fantastic. By the way, if you're ever in the area, in the north of Seattle area, and you want some great tips for places to get meat and burgers, you boost in, I'll let you know. Thank you, Thought Criminal. Appreciate it. Cospelin comes in with 2,000 sats, and he just says, boost. Well, here you go. Pew. There's a pew for you. Sir
I've
Alex.
been boosted.
Yeah, you have. Sir Alex Gates comes in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sats.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
He says, I want to confirm my boost got through. I sent 2 the last couple of weeks, and I don't recall hearing. I don't think I saw them, Alex Gates. Mr. Sir Alex Gates, the podcasting consultant. Maybe Mike snuck him. That could be it. Little boost sneaker. You know, sometimes like have an extra cookie.
Them.
Yeah.
I had to buy more Gungan food for my inner Jar Jar. If you've seen the Venom movie, he's starting to take over.
I was going to have 1 cookie, but when they're fresh, I got to have like 5 cookies.
Oh, dude. Fresh cookies, man. That's like,
They are the best. Maybe the best dessert. fresh cookies, especially
Dessert? No, breakfast.
Yeah.
You make those cookies at 5 a.m.
Good thinking.
Jaway intended.
Scott Boosin, by the way, thank you, Alex. Scott Boosin, 5,000 sats. I was unfortunately not able to boost last week. I had a Podverse breakage. But here's some sats to make up for last week. I'm going to try and support you guys more since you really are the only shows consistently covering tech from a rational and realistic perspective that is sorely lacking amid all the hype. Keep up.
Now, hang on. Scott, are you willing to sign an affidavit that says that I'm rational and realistic? Because I'm not going to say why. That's super helpful.
The gig boosts in with a row of ducks. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Thank you, the gig. Appreciate that. Noodles comes in with 12,500 sats. Just sending some sats your way. I love the show, but I'm a bit low on cash. These are all the sats I have sitting in my wallet, so I'm going to support the show. Thank you, Noodles. Appreciate that. Podhome. We mentioned podhome.fm, and they boosted in 15,000 sats. Said, thanks for the mention. Glad Podhome is saving you time. It's been great. Little follow-up on podhome.fm. I'm using it now for the Jupiter station feed, and I'm also using it for our Live Unplugged members feed, and it's really neat. It does all of the AI analysis for you does, of course, a transcription, and then off of that transcription, it does all kinds of neat things like chapter automatic generation, title suggestions, automatic clips. It's a really cool service, and it's like relatively a great price. Check it out, podhome.fm. And thank you for boosting in. I think I'm on week 3, and I'm really liking it. 40 Deluxe liked the take on the AI whitewashing. We had 13 boosters in total. Oh, and also a live boost from Rotted Mood, not to forget, who had a value for value boost at 25,000 sats. Thank you. I'm going to call that a big batch of ducks, I guess. A satchel, a group, a flock, a murder. I don't know. So we had 241,034 sats plus the 25,000 sats from Rotted Mood. Thank you, everybody. A much nice step up. I think 200,000 would be a great baseline for next week if we could get there. I think that'd be a nice goal. You could help us get there. Maybe even pop over it if you could. And you're always welcome to send a message in and follow up on anything we talked about in the show. We always love that. Or anything else. Like I'm like 6 episodes into Babylon 5, season 2.
Ooh, we can't. Yeah, I have something new I'm watching. Go. How are you feeling?
I'm getting into it. I was struggling actually in the most recent episode a little bit. But I just got to remember just because the acting was so rough. They had like a guest captain who came in on one of these big explorer ships.
Oh, that sucks.
And he's like Sheridan's buddy.
Yeah, all the guest officers are terrible.
Yeah, it's rough acting. It's rough.
It's worse than like when an admiral shows up on TNG and is like, "I've got the biggest balls in the galaxy."
I know what you mean. Yep, I know
so
what you mean.
I decided, because you dunked on me so mercilessly on the Babylon 5 thing in the Code of QA, to go even older than Babylon 5.
Oh yeah?
Are you familiar with a man named Chuck Connors? Like Chuck Norris.
Come on, that sounds familiar. I'm going to look.
Oh, it should.
Chuck Connors. Oh wow. Oh whoa. You're going way back. Are you
branded, baby? Branded.
Are you talking like? Are you talking like the guy was born in 1921 and then died in 1992?
No, the name of the show is Branded. It's black and white. It's
yeah.
So he is a Union cavalry officer. And yes, Union, because that's where we are. Right.
Branded.
And his folks, his crew gets whacked by a bunch of very New Jersey whacked. Let me get a hoagie too.
Ooh, sounds good.
And he's the only survivor, but they think he's a coward and runs. So the intro is we can't play it, but you got to YouTube the Branded intro. They literally rip the stripes off his like the chevron. I actually think it's chevrons, not stripes. So he might be technically a sergeant. I don't remember his rank, but they rip them off his shoulder, off his uniform. For some reason, he has no shirt on, but he has his jacket, which makes no sense. But we'll just let that go.
Yeah. I see that in the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. They take his cavalry sword, right? Which back in the day, that's primarily what they used, but kind of ceremonial too, right? The officer that breaks it over his knee, hands him back the hilt with the broken sword. And they drum him out, and they sing "Branded," dun 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 dun. They right in the intro song, they say they branded him as a coward, but he wasn't one, and he just runs around like a Irish Zorro, fighting with a broken cavalry sword. It's so good, though. And I will tell you that there's no way it would be aired today. So if you're looking for something interesting to watch, I got the entire DVD collection on Amazon for $20.
Oh my goodness, good for you. Good for you.
This is all stuff I used to watch with my dad, like all these black and white detectives.
yeah.
And he loves Westerns. He's 80. Thank God he doesn't know. Actually, I take it back, Chris, if we have another minute. My dad discovered podcasts.
Oh, now what is that like when, a parental unit discovers a podcast? Do they make a connection? This is something you've been doing for many years?
He finally I had to explain like what we've been doing is AM radio.
Sure, okay.
On the internet.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way he could understand it.
Right.
But actually he loves podcasts. He has been all up on that. He does the Johnny Dollar, Detective Johnny Dollar, another good classic program. There's a bunch of like the old Sherlock Holmes, all the stuff like we used to watch or listen to. When I was a kid, he had all the cassette tapes of all the detectives and like a lot of the country western radio plays. Because my dad's in his 80s, so also the black and white films and the TV shows from his youth. And they're all just, I guess at some point they don't care about the copyright anymore. They're all there. Like if you, even on like Apple Podcasts, they're there. He also discovered YouTube at the same time and has become I would say an admiral in the pirate fleet at this point. He's watching everything because they don't police the old stuff. They really don't. He's just like, this is great. I just type it in and if this one's no good, I just go to the next guy.
It's good for
him.
They
don't charge me.
Good for him.
Wait till he discovers YouTube Red and he doesn't have to watch ads.
Yeah.
You know what though? What the hell? There was an article I read about preservation of video games, and one of the big challenges is because a lot of these in fact, Ubisoft is being sued right now. A lot of these games require live services, so the minute they turn the service off, right, the back end service, your disc is worth nil. It's worth nothing. Well, you know what? Things from the 50s and the 40s are still pretty good. Might want to check my math there. It's the 50s. But yeah, they're still pretty good because, hell, if you have the cassette tape of Hopalong Cassidy, or if you have a VHS, yes, he has an extensive VHS cowboy collection, guess what? You got it. And there's no login that you have to have. There's no, OAuth server that has to be up. You just got it.
Right. Yeah, that is
Sold.
true. Until that VHS fades because it's magnetic.
Not true. There are services.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
true.
I got to tell you.
You could import it for sure.
No, they will convert your VHS to DVD for you.
Yeah.
And upres it, and they will like.
Oh,
repair it.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's on it. Trust me.
Now this is not old school, although I do love some of those old shows. I started watching about 6 episodes into Westworld, which has been very good.
Good stuff.
Have you seen it?
I saw the first season. I didn't finish it, but I think I was like 3/4 of the way through.
It's neat too, just because it was started in 2016, but it deals a lot with artificial intelligence and all of that, and it's well done too, so far at least. So it's been fun, and I got it on the new TV because my old TV died, so I got it in high res Blu-ray.
Nice.
So that's been fun to watch something in Blu-ray and be all fancy and all that.
I did I know we're running over, but I did a Pepsi challenge by watching the Avengers on 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Side by side with the streaming. What have we done to ourselves?
Oh, the streaming's way worse.
That movie's beautiful.
Yeah.
When you watch it without the weird.
Yeah.
And I have Fios. I mean, I'm sure
it's just the compression and whatnot. It just
it's just
it cuts down on the color space. It cuts down, and it's weird, but it feels like a lot of these streaming services, their compression breaks down in blacks and in dark spaces. And now that I have an HDR television, I notice it a lot more.
Well, like Age of Ultron in particular, when they're that opening scene when they're in whatever strange Eastern European country they're in, like Iron Man's in the basement. Like I'm spoilers, I guess, but he takes off the armor and he goes down to the basement. They've got the alien hooked up. They're doing some kind of experiment on it. There's all those blacks and like light color, dark colors rather. The contrast on the Blu-ray version, it's gorgeous. Yeah, so Mike is old. I'm also, there's a big difference between my Amazon TV and my Sony's.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's just it's all matters of how much you care about this stuff, I suppose, really.
Well, I want to see every follicle of Craig Federighi's chest hair.
My kids are fine with just watching on their phone. They don't care.
My son couldn't tell if he was what.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly want to just, although I was watching Branded in black and white, and again, he's like, "Are you sure the TV isn't broken?"
I'm telling you, the Apple Vision Pro as a movie experience, if you're watching by yourself, it's probably got to be sweet.
What if you're watching something from 1954?
He's still watching it in some huge, cool, chill space. I don't know.
That's true. His shirtless. Never mind. Anyway,
all right,
thank you all for listening.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Chris at Chris LAS. The podcast network is at Jupiter Signal, and the show is at Coda Radio Show.
Look at
I'm
you
at
go.
Dumanuco on Twitter, and check out Alice. And I have something new coming out if I ever get it right.
Alice.dev.
Alice.dev.
And I don't know if people out there, I don't know if it's no big deal. If you're Nostr curious, I pointed chrislast.com to a Nostr profile of mine. I don't use it a lot, but I'm planting. I'm gonna put a little seed right there. Maybe I'm gonna grow it and nurture it a little bit one day. chrislast.com if you want to follow me over there. Coder.show/554 for everything that we talked about today. That'll have your links that are relevant to our discussion. And then on that site, we also have things like our contact form. We love it when you write in. We'll have our RSS feed so you can subscribe and get the show as we release it. We generally are recording on a Monday. We'd love to have you join us. It's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. If you subscribe to the Jupiter Station feed in a Podcasting 2.0 app, you don't have to worry about when we do it live, because we'll just go live in the app, and you can listen right there. We'll have that feature in the main Coder feed one day as well. Then I don't have to even tell you the times anymore. It's going to be a whole new world. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode. We'll see you right back here next week. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Drew. Okay, we've got to title this thing. I'm gonna go in that title bot. Save there. I wasn't watching too well, so I don't know if I saw any go by that I loved, but we'll see.
Ooh, JB titles.
Well, no, it's not. I know. I do that too. It doesn't go to the web anymore, although it really would be great if it did.
Oh, really? It doesn't? Oh,
no, it's only in the... No, well, because it's a different chat system. But it would be really handy. Wield the power of the Green Lantern.
Hurts to be hurt?
Oh, that was in reference to something we were talking about in the pre-show. Because they just... so, they're dumping all their Teslas, and now their stock's been downgraded as a result. But they're dumping like 20,000 Teslas.
God damn it, Wes is always in with the fire.
Apple dunks on dev, the App Store addiction. Ooh, that's pretty good.
That's pretty spicy.
Apple's wasted potential. One bad apple. Oh, we've used that, right? Blurred vision. I like the App Store addiction.
I like Wield the Power of the Green Lantern by Sam's. Is that in relation to the Ring product they just came out with?
Yeah.
Do you know if you see the color yellow or some 3-year-old throws a yellow pencil at you, you're fucked.
Yeah. Right? I don't know, man. I don't think I need any more devices on my body that I have to frickin' charge every day. I think I'm good.
Oh, honey, you should have seen me in the hospital.
Oh, I bet.
And not just in.
Yeah.
It was I sent a selfie to my buddy Dave. I'm like, I'm more machine now than man.
Right? Definitely. I know that felt when I was in there for
out.
surgery. It was like, yeah. All right. The App Store addiction. What do you think? It's got 3 boats.
I like it. I like anything that makes this show sound like it's about heroin.
Yeah, all right. Cool. All right. Good one, Mr. Payne. Good one.
Oh, I have an indecent proposal for you. I'll DM you.
Okay.
It does involve Naboo.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to like the new boss. You've met him before.
He's the old boss?
Misa not the boss. Misa a good friend. Jar Jar advertising. Also, I tried to open a checking. So spoilers. Alice is being spun out to her own thing, own corporation. Silicon Valley Bank told me to go fuck myself.
What?
I thought was super interesting.
Oh, really?
Because I don't have an institutional backer. I'm like, I'm asking for a checking account. They won't even let you finish the form. I'm like, okay.
I don't even have words for that. That's so elitist.
So there are many Florida credit unions and banks, including my current bank for TMV and my personal stuff, who will gladly take the money. Right?
Okay.
Like, I don't know what you're doing, but I only did it because I wanted to be cool and hip.
It is cool, right?
You know, as we try this new aggressive, potentially VC funded thing.
Woo! Get some of that VC. That's what I said.
Well, I'm actually so the live audience can hear this, but we can't record it. I'm hoping that the money printer actually does go burr now.
Well, hopefully.
Because I've just decided to drink the demon blood at this point.
We shall see. I mean, I would imagine it's going to be probably halfway through the year, though, or something. But it takes time for these deals to get spun up anyways.
Oh, the state of Florida. So I didn't know this, but I called the Florida Department of State. Apparently, lots of people get super fucking hammered on New Year's and try to open corporations online. And the company that I hired to set up the corporation for me just so happened to not do it until like December 31st or something.
We got to get on the deadline.
Yeah. Well, the problem is they're like super behind on. So you fill it out online. You'd think it would just be like a name check and like, is there a conflict? And they like digitally issue you the corporation. Nope. There is some old lady sitting there.
Oh.
Yep. It doesn't matter if you do it online. And they are weeks behind. So I'm in this horrible place where I have deals like on the cusp of going through that I technically can't close because the corporation's fictitious right now. So yeah, it's it's amazing. Like this is the whole Alice pitch, right? So much of this IT stuff that we think is like by big organizations must be state of the art.
Yeah.
A lot of it's some old auntie or grandma just like going through PDFs. It's really bad.
Yeah, and moving from one system to the other system. Moving this from this to that.
Yeah. Well, and now that DeSantis isn't running for president anymore, I'm going to go ahead and pitch the state of Florida. I'm like, you don't need to have your aunt doing this or your grandma doing this anymore, right?
No
like,
kidding.
Totally. We can check for the name.
There might be an opportunity here. Yeah. All right.
So if you're a crazy investor and want to hook up and get some of that sweet automation / AI, because everything's AI now.
You gotta have AI.
Ash, get in here. And of course, contractually obligated to advertise on Jupiter Broadcasting.
Is that true?
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
I like that.
I think as long as you bring my stove back.
Okay. I have. It's funny. I meant to bring this up in the show. I have installed it and played it for. I did play it for. It's funny because I saw you posted that you set up your account again. Well, I'm back. I was back on Stowe this last weekend for a little bit.
That wasn't Stowe.
No, I know. You weren't, but I was. I was playing. It's just we were both playing our old MMO.
I went down a fucking World of Warcraft K-hole. I like. My wife comes down the stairs. She's like, "Babe, I thought you said you had the bug fixed." I said, "What bug?" She looked at. She's like, "You look really." She's like, "What did you do? Like, did you drink a lot? What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I just have to figure out how to get into this dungeon and respec."
Yep.
7 hours later, it was really bad. Like, I
How
forgot
is it
why.
clunky? Because I tell you what, Stowe still feels pretty clunky to me. It still feels like you really hit the edges of the engine.
So, okay. WoW feels inconsistent. Like, the parts that they've upgraded are good, but the gameplay design and some of the other parts that haven't been updated yet, like, yeah, you could feel it.
Yeah.
It's also the WoW community.
Uh-huh.
Like, I had to turn off Gen Chat.
Gotta be pretty hardcore at this point.
Yeah, it's just well, it's hardcore, but it's also like spammers.
Oh, that sucks.
Like, I like people like spamming OnlyFans links.
I don't think Stowe's popular enough to have spammers. Maybe it does, but I don't see it.
No. I don't know. I mean, the other game I was gonna resub to, but they pissed me off when they went free to play was Star Wars Online.
The Old Republic. Yep.
But I think the way they did that was a little shady.
Yeah.
Like I felt very because I was.
They lost me then too. Yeah, I was. I think I had a lifetime sub.
I did too, and I'm like, so you basically just screwed me.
Yep.
And now you want me to pay for things I thought I'd already paid for.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say that, MMO addiction's like any other addiction, right? Like I got my hit, and of course I bought a 6-month subscription. I don't imagine me logging in more than like twice again because, it was the community. My guild used to be there.
Yeah.
My,
I really enjoyed it for a period, but now it felt very mechanic. A lot of systems to interact with. I don't know.
Well, and it's changed so much.
Yes.
Like, yeah. I ended up playing Magic Online with Magic Arena rather with some of the folks in the gamer Discord, and that was just like, at least I know the mechanics of Magic because I've been playing it more recently.
Yeah.
WoW. The only thing I will say about WoW though is, again, they charge a subscription, but son of a bitch, as soon as I log in, they're asking me to do in-app purchases.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, this is gross. Like,
Yeah.
you pick.
Yeah.
Is it a sub?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it a pay? Pay per product.
Am I gonna? Yeah, like that was the beauty. Stowe did the switch too, and it stunk, but it didn't, because for a long time, lifetime subs got like this stipend of their Zen credits. So
well, they did on SWTOR too.
Yeah. It doesn't. They don't anymore. They don't do it anymore.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I
remember
know.
we used to get like free. I remember because I rolled in KOTOR or SWTOR Online, whatever it was. The hell did I roll? I rolled a Jedi, like the tank, the Guardian. I remember you used to get like on your first character, if you were a lifetime person in the beginning, a free like lightsaber.
Yeah, you get like little things. Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah,
like
for
all
sure.
kinds of little things. That,
And you'd
like,
know that guy was an
OG player.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been playing that Star Trek. Is it Dominions? The strategy game. And
How do you like
it? Oh, if I keep going the way I'm going, the Federation is fucked.
All right.
Kapla, bitches.
I've been wondering.
Kapla.
I've been thinking. I've some people have said it's blah blah blah, but just with the Star Trek skin and blah blah blah, it's not so good. But I don't know. It sounds kind of fun to me. So I've been meaning to get. I bought it, but I haven't tried it yet.
I have to actually get with the System 76 guys again. We used to have a good Civ 5 game going, and I was always Egypt or something crazy. It was Egypt actually with them, and I would always just harass them because it turns out that if you know a lot about Egyptian gods, you could just make shit up about how you're going to burn down their village. You know how I always win, though?
What?
I don't always win. I usually lose. There's some aggressive motherfuckers over there. Wonders. I build walls, man. I'm big, beautiful walls, and I make sure that Mexico pays for them.
I'm sure they will. No doubt about it. Beautiful
No doubt.
walls.
The peso is a great currency. I don't care what you say.
All right, Mr. Dominic.
All right, take it easy.
Have a good week.
Have a good week. Bye, chat room. I hope you enjoy the unfiltered after show where Mike cancels himself again.
To the least of the chat room. Thank you for making it live stream. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Bye. Next week.
All right. See you next week.
Bye. Bye.
All right. That wraps it up here. Next live show will be Linux Unplugged on Sunday. We'll have an entry in the station feed for that in a bit. I also would like to have feedback on that station feed. One thing I have been doing from time to time is posting clips of the live stream. So if you miss it, you can always subscribe to the station feed and at least get the bits. But I'm not sure if that's duplicate work since it's live there as well. So I guess I'd like some feedback on that. You can let me know in the chat room or boost in on the station feed and let me know. Thank you very much for joining us. How about I leave you with something special? He said we probably shouldn't play it, and he's right. We probably shouldn't. But I'll roll the dice because this is fun. From the branded TV series, the theme song that Mr. Dominic was talking about. We'll go out with this. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Hope to see you on Sunday for Linux Unplugged.
All but one man died there at Bitter Creek, and they say he ran away. Branded marked with a coward's shame. What do you do when you're branded? Well, you fight for your name. He was innocent, not a charge was true, but the world would never know. Branded, scorned as the one who ran. What do you do when you're branded and you know you're a man?